So then they said, what about twins? You know, twins who have identical DNA, right? Identical twins have identical DNA, right? They came from the same fertilized egg. They had the same DNA. And so after looking at 45,000 twin pairs just about living in Denmark and Sweden and Finland, these researchers said, you know what? If we look at cancer alone as a disease at 28 different sites in the body, these twins are not, the twin pairs are not developing the same cancers at the same point in time. There's no relationship. Someone who has the same identical DNA, if the DNA and the genes were deciding it, wouldn't it be that at exactly the same point in time both twins would develop the cancer? Doesn't that make sense? But they do. That's what's remarkable. Here we go. Thanks. So the National Cancer Institute, after looking at not just that kind of evidence, but all the worldwide evidence, immigration studies and case control studies and studies within similar populations and teasing apart dietary effects and lifestyle effects, the effects of smoking and alcohol consumption, being overweight, exercising. You say, you know what? We see that 70, 90% of all cancers are produced by how we behave in day-to-day life. There's probably about 15% of cancers that are so strongly genetic that they would just occur anyway. So despite some people's very best efforts, sometimes it just happens anyway. So, well, you can't say, well then, I guess they're all is lost. In 85% of cases, it is avoidable according to what the National Cancer Institute says. And the two major researchers over the years that sort of put this information together and published it in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, when I was a nutrition student doing my master's degree, Dole and Pito in the early 80s, were the first ones to say that 35% of all cancers are avoidable just from dietary behaviors that could be reduced. And they were able to show by tissue sites, you know, how much by tissue site could be reduced. And then a lot of years went by, and then Walter Willett from Harvard University did exactly the same worldwide study again in the mid-1990s, and in 1996 published, that says 94, but by the time it reached the journal it was 1996. He said, yeah, about 32%, but if you factor in exercise and not being overweight, it goes back to 35% from diet alone. Let me tell you something. Smoking is linked to 30% of all cancers. Now, you and I know that there are still people that smoke. Right? About 25% of the population. It's not because they don't know it's risky. They know. So they're making an informed decision. Right? So as long as people are making an informed decision, I have no problem with it. But most people, I think, realize that a faulty dietary behaviors carries the same risk of cancer as does that cigarette. Most people have never heard that before. Is that right? They know genes are there. What gene did I in here? But they don't realize that faulty dietary behaviors carries the same risk as smoking. See, people don't have a chance to make an informed decision about that. I wish someone, when I was 14 or 15 or 16, had explained this to me. Because up until the time I did my master's degree in nutrition, my own dietary habits were a disaster. Probably worse than anything you've ever seen. So it was very hard for me to actually, make the changes that I'm going to show you, I'm going to ask you to make if you haven't made them already. But it's not an easy thing to go from A to Z. You can't do it overnight in many cases. I respect it. It took me a while to get adjusted. I'm still fine-tuning it. But you're going to see the importance of it, and I think people have the right to make an informed decision. That's why I'm here doing what I do. So if you look at, that was cancer, if you look at heart disease, cardiovascular disease, most of the things that put us at risk for vascular disease are not our genes. It's, smoking and cholesterol, which is largely a manifestation of our diet. Only about 5% of people have really, really bad genes where their cholesterol is going to be super high no matter what they do, and those people need drugs. But for most of us, if we really apply ourselves, we can get our blood cholesterol to a safe range, which I'm going to show you, through aggressive dietary and lifestyle interventions. High blood pressure, the World Health Organization says 75% of all mild to moderate high blood pressure could go down to the normal range if people just lost some weight, had less sodium, took certain supplements, exercised more. People can manage blood pressure much more efficiently on their own before they require pharmacological interventions. Now, if they can't get it done, then of course they need medications to do it. No one would argue with that. But these are primarily dietary and lifestyle behaviors. Type 2 diabetes, adult diabetes, occurs in people usually who are overweight in adult life. It creates insulin resistance, and all of a sudden the disease shows up. Being overweight, a lot of not managing stress effect. Actually, how many patients, of the 10,000 patients that have come to my office over the years, how many of them have this profile? They smoked, they had high cholesterol, their blood pressure was a bit high, they were borderline diabetics, they were overweight, they were really stressed out, they didn't exercise. That's not uncommon. That's like everybody. So, I would say to them, it's a pretty scary profile you got going on there. You know what? Hey, Dr. Meschino, I feel fine. I feel okay. I feel fine. I feel okay. What they don't realize is that 40% of cases, the very first symptom of cardiovascular disease is a sudden death heart attack. How you feel and how you are. That's what's going on. So what I want to, I'm going to come back. I'm going to backtrack, and we're going to look at how diet and lifestyle affect cardiovascular disease risk. I'm going to show you some of the steps that actually clog those arteries up. I want you to see them with your own eyes. But I'm going to come back to things you've heard before. I'm going to say, eat a lower animal fat diet, exercise more, stay thin, don't smoke, watch your alcohol. You've heard this before. Have you heard this before? I'm not the first. So but I'm going to give you some really great reasons to really think it through one more time. And what are the steps involved in cancer initiation, progression, and promotion? And so you'll see how diet, active constituents in food and certain supplements can help to block those steps. This is a remarkable part of the seminar. So I promise that as we get through this early part, we're going to backtrack and I'll show you about heart disease and cancer in a little more detail. But what makes this seminar, I think, a bit unique is that I was looking at all this stuff, a few years ago. And I said, Jimmy, I wonder why is it that I'm doing the things that I'm doing now? I don't really have any health conditions, and yet, not only am I exercising and eating healthy, but I'm taking certain supplements. And I'm saying, well, what? I don't have arthritis, and I don't have, I don't have any major inflammatory diseases, and I don't have osteoporosis, and my prostate gland so far has been okay. And so, why am I doing some of the things I'm doing? I don't have any of these conditions. And then it hit me. It hit me that when I did my fellowship at the Academy of Anti-Aging Research in California, even they weren't explaining it this way, but what really stands out when you take a step back is this, that in the aging process there are little genetic time bombs that go off, intentionally. And you say, why would that happen? It happens for this reason. This is my belief. That if you look at all their species, it's kind of the same thing. That if you lived through infancy and early childhood and you didn't die of cystic fibrosis, leukemia, or brain tumor, and you show up at age 12 or 13, nature gives you a chance to go the distance in life and have some fun. So now what happens at around age 12 or 13 is, you grow an adult body. So I don't know about you, but during puberty, I grew an adult body. It's not because I went into the gym and started lifting weights and ate more protein into my body. It just grew naturally, right? Why? Because new hormones are being secreted. So I develop an adult body, and with an adult body comes an adult sex drive. That's how we all got here. So what happens is people sort of get attracted to each other and they mate, and before you know, kids come along. They procreate the species. That's what nature wants. They want us to procreate the species. And then as you get older, your kids get older, and kids get older, you get older, kids get older, you get older, kids get older, you get older, kids get older, you get older. By the time you're 40 or 45 years old, nature assumes you're going to follow this biological blueprint plan, the urge that's inside most people. And by the time you're 40, 45 years old, nature looks at you and goes, did a heck of a good job there. Procreating the species, following that biological urge. That's what we wanted you to do. But now that you're about 40 or 45 years old, soon your kids are going to be becoming self-sufficient. As far as nature's concerned, you served your purpose on the planet, and there's no further use for you being here. You're just eating up all the food, you're creating a lot of waste, you're in the way, you're breathing out carbon dioxide, creating greenhouse gases. Nature's got to figure out a way now to get rid of us. That's what's going on. Because nature knows if it leaves it up to us, we're going to go 400 or 500 years. But no one's putting up their hand going, take me, I'm ready, take me now. I'm 52, take me now. No one does that. So, built into the body's aging clock, right around age 40, 45, are little genetic time bombs that go off at predetermined points in time that set the stage for decline, decay, degeneration, so that death will occur. Nature wants death. Nature isn't sad when you leave the planet. It's like, great, another one gone next. Serve the purpose, procreate the species. So the sad part of it, you're liking this stuff. So the sad part is really, when you think about it, is this is the time in life when you get to know who you are and what your purpose in the planet is. Now there's decline, decay, and degeneration starting. It doesn't happen all in one day. You don't go from being a healthy individual, somebody, they have dementia, their bones fall apart, they got a large prostate, they can't think, they go through menopause. It doesn't all happen in one day. But there's a gradual, insidious decline that eventually you say, oh, this person's getting older. They're rotten, man. So the thing is that when I first graduated as a chiropractor in 1979, with my master's degree in nutrition in 1984, none of what I'm about to tell you was novel. This is only in the last 10 or 15 years that anti-aging researchers have said, hey, we now understand that aging clock. We know what those genetic time bombs look like, and we know exactly at what points in time they're going to cause certain types of decline degeneration to occur. So what we're realizing is that by putting, that you can counter the time bombs. This is the beautiful part. You can actually counter the genetic time bombs to maintain a more functional body for a much longer period of time if after the age of 40 you're willing to become a little more aggressive in the fight against aging and degenerative illnesses. How many people are interested in that model? So the thing is, it requires certain targeted nutritional supplements after 40 to do it. So you've heard sometimes, you hear doctors say and nutritionists say, you can get everything that you need from food. And that's actually true. If you eat a low animal fat diet, you eat fruit and vegetables, you stay lean, you exercise, you get the protein you need. You can do quite, but you follow nature's plan. You grow, you develop, you procreate, you go for a while, then there's some decline, decay, degeneration in that. I'm saying, how would you like to be able to counter the time bomb so you can maintain that more functional body for a longer period of time? Are you interested in that plan? It requires a greater focused effort. And honestly, you can't do it from food alone. That's my point. So now I'm going to show you why I do what I do. Then you can make up your own mind as to if this is something that engages you in a way that would put you to work. So